Hello, everyone, and welcome in. My name is Addison Willman with Martin Supply, and today I'm joined once again by my good friend JB, one of our many fastening leaders here over at Martin. So, JB, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, Addison. Thank you. John Butler, certified fastener specialist. I have 31 years in the fastener industry. I'm a territory sales manager, account manager for the southeastern portion of the country. And the best part about what I love to do is teaching, educating customers and fellow employees on different applications and different products. And today, let's talk about rivets.
Right. And this is actually the second part of a two-part interview that we're doing. And look, in the first part, we talked about rivets in general and the many different types and the different industries they're used in. But today we're just going to talk a little bit about blind rivets. So, why did you want to talk about blind rivets specifically?
Well, of course, the low cost, the versatility of the product itself, but you can have a structural or non-structural blind rivet. So the applications where rivets can be put in place is so very broad. You know, you can use them anywhere. So blind rivets, non-structural, basically very low install cost, and they work in specific hole specific and grip specific applications. You could have a dome head, you could have a countersunk head, a large flange. There's a great variety of applications that you can put them in. And it's a two-piece component. There is the rivet body itself, and then the mandrel. And that mandrel is often called a nail. And when it is put into a tool, a hand tool or a power tool, and it is triggered for the install, what it does is it forms a flange on the back side, and then that rivet ball breaks off, and the mandrel is disposed of. When you have a multi-grip rivet, which is a blind rivet, that has the way of encapsulating that ball so it doesn't come loose. A great application for that is the fan. So you don't want a piece of metal hitting in the fan and being a projectile, right? So it encompasses that part. There are structural rivets, and there's two different varieties. Within the IFI, which is our fastener Bible, it talks about self-plugging multi-grip rivets, which is more of a structural rivet. That mandrel that I talked about that breaks off, it actually breaks off higher towards the top of the rivet. So it is inside the full rivet body. So it gives you that shear plane strength. So that's why they call it a structural rivet versus a regular blind rivet. It does not break off inside that shear plane, so it's not going to be as strong. Now, your cost, of course, for a non-structural rivet versus a structural rivet, big difference there. But almost all the time, it's going to be a lot less expensive installed cost for a rivet, whether it be blind, structural or non-structural, compared to a different type of fastener being a high strength bolt or screw, a regular machine screw or a sheet metal screw. It solves the application to keep costs down.
All right, that all makes sense to me. And I know me, as well as many of the customers who have worked with marketing in the past, we love saving money. So that's always a big deal. You've told me in the past that blind fasteners are sort of your thing. That's your bread and butter. You enjoy working with those. Can you tell me a little bit about the different types of blind rivets that you've seen as well? There's a wide variety, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure. So if we look at a plastic application, what you don't want to have is that rivet when you set it that it's going to pull through that plastic. So they have what they call a trifold or a large secondary head rivet. And what that does is it's actually cut in the rivet body itself. And when that mandrel pulls through, it can be a non-structural or structural, meaning that mandrel would break in this shear plane. It forms a large flange on the back side, actually like three legs. And that stops that from being pulled through. As you can imagine, if it's wider on the back side, you're not going to be able to pull that through the application. So it's going to hold that application tighter. So that's a great application for plastics. You can also use a regular standard blind rivet with the washer. It does the same thing. You put a washer on the back side and it gives it a bearing surface. There's also multi-grip rivets, as I was talking about before, where it has a wide grip range, right? So it's not going to be very specific as far as the hole goes and the material thickness, because it's going to have a wider grip range. So you can use one rivet versus 2 or 3 rivets. And most of the rivets are going to be in aluminum, but they also come in stainless steel and steel as well. So there's different rivets for different applications and different blind rivets for different applications as well. And this is where I love going in and showing or educating customers. How can we save you install costs and to be able to component? So I'm going to save you from buying 3 rivets. You can use 1 rivet.
Right. And like you just mentioned, we have a fastener specialist such as yourself and other fastening leaders who can actually come through and look through your entire process and find if you're using the correct rivet or not, and if there's a better alternative. So can you tell people how they can reach out to you and what that process looks like?
Sure. Even though I'm located in the southeastern portion of the country, I handle this territory. Willing to work with customers across the country. Can be reached at martinsupply.com, or my email address is jbutler@martinsupply.com. Love to come out and do a line walk and see your applications and help you solve your value added, value engineered parts.
And I'm glad you mentioned the website. Once again, that is martinsupply.com. We have tons of blog articles and case studies and downloadable flyers and all sorts of great things over there. So be sure to visit our website. But JB, I think that's going to be it. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you again for your time. And thank you to those of you who have been watching. As always, your support is greatly appreciated. And we will see you in the next one.